This lecture is about understanding some basic terms in statistical data analysis. There will be two parts of lecture. The first part is on the fundamental concept of statistics. This includes statistics definition, statistics process, differences between data and variable, and lastly, the explanation about the data hierarchy. While the second part of lecture will be concerning on the aspects of data collection and data preparations in statistical concept. Now we will look at the statistics definition. Statistical analysis is the science of collecting data and uncovering patterns and trends. If you look at this diagram here, starting from the collections of information, okay, the next part in statistic process is the organization of information. This organization of information including how the data will be organized and prepared. Okay. The next one will be the summarizations of informations and the analysis of information. These two parts will be including the categorical of statistics, that is descriptive and inferential. And the last one will be the result reporting, that include the results on the analysis and also the visualizations from the analysis. Conducting a statistical data analysis will be relying on statistical assumption. So this is the difference between methods in data analysis. If you are analyzing the data using a statistic process, basically you will be relying on the statistical assumption. So there are few of the most common assumptions in statistics, which are normality assumption, linearity assumptions, and equality of variance assumption. Statistics also comes from the branch of mathematics. However, there are differences between mathematics and statistics. In mathematics, when the problem is solved correctly, the results can be reported as 100% certainty. So this is an example of mathematics problem. Okay. For example, let's say that you have a problems of mathematics, let's say like this. Okay, 3x plus 5 is equal to 11. Therefore, the solutions of these mathematical problems, which is the value of x, would be exactly 100% certainty that it is equal to 11 minus 5 divided by 3. So this is the concept of mathematics. Whereas the statistics, when the problem is solved, the result will not have 100% certainty. So basically in statistics, we will have, for example, like 95% confidence that the average of this and so on. Okay, so basically in statistics, we will not have this 100% of certainty. Okay. So for example, in this example here, show here, Mary and Jane is asked to estimate the average commute time for workers in Dallas and Texas. So basically in statistics problem, okay, when we want to estimate the average commute time for workers in Dallas and Texas, basically we'll be collecting a data that the data concerning the time commute for the commute from Dallas and Texas. So when we are collecting the data, so basically we'll be facing some biasness, some errors, okay, while collecting the sample data. So that is why when we are analyzing that data or estimating that data, for example, estimating the average time, okay, so therefore we will not have a certainty of 100%. So basically in statistics, at most we will have 99% of certainty. The next part is about data and variables. What is data? Data in statistics is called as information. This information contains who and what about something. In statistics, instead we call data, we can also call as observation. Data of observation is recorded or collected by you or someone else. This will be called as individual information. An example, observation of students, patients, retailers company, and many more. The observation collected or recorded will be varies. For example, different patients will have different sugar level. Different retailer company will have different profit. Therefore, this variability is needed to be analyzed to explain the differences. The information collected will have different characteristics, and these characteristics can be either numerical or categorical, or we can call it as non-numerical. And these characteristics is called as variable. In terms of the structure, okay, so this is the what we call as the data structure. So there are two types of data structure. Okay, so basically when we want to what we call to store our data, okay, we need to follow the structure whereby the rows will be representing the observations, whereby the rows will be representing as the individuals, and the column will be representing the characteristics of our observation. So this characteristic is called as the variable. Okay, so this is the data structure. Okay, and another type of data structure is whereby we call it as a panel data. Why it is a panel? Because we have a different group. Okay, and then similar, the row will be representing the observation, and the year and the column will be representing the characteristics of our observations or our data, okay, which is called as the variable. Okay, so what is the difference between, if you see here, the cross-sectional data and also the time series data? Okay, so if in our data structure there are no element of time, okay, for example like this, there are whereby there is no element of time, so this structure is called as cross-sectional data structure. And if our structure have the element of time, okay, either any kind, okay, either year or monthly or daily, okay, as long as it is the characteristics of time, so therefore it is called as a time series data. Okay, and if it is have this kind of panel, okay, or maybe a group here, so it is called as panel data. Okay, to be specific, cross-sectional time series data. Okay, because why? Because it has the element of time series and non-element of time series. Okay. In terms of the category of the variable, okay, so because since just now I have mentioned variables is about characteristics of our data or our observation. So these characteristics can be either a numerical characteristics and also and also the categorical characteristics. All right, so these numerical characteristics is called as quantitative variable. Okay, and the categorical characteristics is called as qualitative variables. Okay, and of course I believe everybody knows what is numerical. Okay, basically it should be a number, and a categorical meaning that it will be the category. Okay, meaning that uh, that characteristics will have a category. For example, easier example, gender. So gender will have a category of female and male. Okay. For the quantitative variables, that is the numerical value or the numerical characteristics of our variable. So there are two types of numerical or quantitative variables that are the first one discrete variables and the second one that is called as continuous variable. So basically discrete is the finite number or a countable number of that value. Okay, and the continuous is the variable that has infinite number of possible values that are not countable. Okay, so basically discrete we can count the value, and continuous we need to measure the value. Okay, for example, let's say the discrete, for example, number of patient, number of beds. Okay, so beds we can count it, patient we can count it. Okay, continuous variable, for example, um, the weight, height. Okay, we cannot count the weight, we cannot count the height, we need to measure the weight. Okay, for example, we need to measure the weight maybe by kilo, kg or gram. Okay, the height maybe in terms of the centimeters, meters, okay, and so on. So this is the differences between the discrete and also the continuous, which is falls under quantitative variable. All right, so to conclude, the difference between the data and the variables, basically data, we call it as the observation. So basically observation is the one that we recorded. So it depends. So might be the observation is the student. The observations might be the patient. Okay. So as long as it is the one that we recorded, so it is called as observation. But normally we will call it overall as a data, right? And then, of course, like I mentioned just now, the data in terms of the structure, data should be placed, or the observation should be placed as the rows in the record sheets. Okay. And since the data is a representing of observations that we have recorded, okay, so therefore it will be varies. Okay. So varies meaning that it will have a different characteristics for each of the rows or for each of the observation. And misuse of the data occurs when the data are incorrectly obtained. Okay, meaning that when you want to collect the data, or in statistics we call it, when we want to collect the sample, or incorrectly analyzed or presented. Okay, so this is during when we do the analysis, so we might be using a wrong method of analysis. Okay, so this is what we call of misuse of data, whereby the variable is actually the characteristics of an item or an individuals that will be analyzed using a statistic. Alright, so basically, that is why when we have our observations, of course, for our observation, there will be a characteristics. Yes, and then this characteristics is called as a variable. And in terms of the structure, it should be placed as columns in the record sheet. Okay. So for example here, all right, recently my son and I planted tomato plant in our backyard. So we collected information about the tomatoes harvested from the plant. So from this example here, we can say that individuals in the study is the tomato. Okay, so the observation is the tomato. And then the variable, okay, the variables, okay, or the characteristics of the tomato or our observation will be the weight of the tomatoes, okay, the color of the tomatoes, or maybe and maybe the size of the tomatoes. Okay. So I hope you can differentiate between the data, or we call as observation, and the variables. Because why? Because this is important when we want, because when we have collected our data, so we need to differentiate which one is observation, which is need to be located as the rows, and the variables or the characteristics of our data or observation, which need to be located as in columns. The next part is about data hierarchy. But before we can proceed, let's do some bugs session to test your understanding on previous topic. Please refer to the e-learning for details. Okay, so what is the importance to understand about data hierarchy? Or some book refers it as data measurement. The reason is different hierarchy level will require different method of analysis. So what is actually data hierarchy? From the diagram shown, variables can be structured as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Nominal is the lowest level, ordinal is the mid-level, while interval and ratio possess the highest level of hierarchy. Okay, so now we look into each of this hierarchy. The first one is nominal data or nominal variable. So like I have mentioned just now, nominal is the lowest form of hierarchy. So basically, nominal is a data or is the variable that has the category. For example, gender is a nominal. Marital status is also a nominal because it has a category of single, married, or divorced. Okay, and then this nominal data also can be coded. Okay, for example, it shown here. For example, let's say that I've used code 88 to represent single category, 11 to represent divorces, 33 representing married category, and 55 representing other category. The numbers that use as the coded in this type of variable cannot be analyzed. Okay, the second order or the second hierarchy is what we call as ordinal data. Some book refer it as rank data. This hierarchy is one notch above the nominal data. Okay, and ordinal data is also a variable that has the category. The differences between the nominal is for ordinal data, the categorical of the variable need to be ranked or need to be ordered. Okay, while the category or the nominal variable, the category is not in ranking or is not in order. An example of ordinal variable is income category. Okay, for example, here under the first category is under 10,000, 10,000 to 25,000, and the third category is above 25,000. The next one is interval. If you still remember the diagram, interval and ratio is the highest hierarchy of data. Why? Because these two data here, these two types of hierarchy here, or the variable here, interval and ratio, it is a quantitative value of variable. So that is why when it is a quantitative value of variable, so we can do many kind of analysis for this quantitative value of variable. Okay, so if you look at this, okay, the ratio data here, okay, it is a quantitative. Okay, the differences is the value of 0 have a certain value. For example, 0 kg representing that pack does not have a weight. To summarize here, so this is the overall structure of variables, including the type, the hierarchy, and also the example. So we have know that variables can be differentiated between qualitative and quantitative. Okay. For the qualitative, it should be what we call a categorical. So this category can be non-ordered category, or we call as nominal, and ordered category, which is called as ordinal. Whereby for the quantitative type, okay, it can be representing as ratio and also interval. However, quantitative can be also can be categorized either continuous or discrete. Okay, so here are some examples why hierarchy is important to understand. Example 1, okay. So let's say an electronic manufacturer recently surveyed a sample of customers to determine whether they preferred black, white, or colored staircase. And the data were coded as 1, black, 2, white, and 3, colored. From the survey done, they get the responses like this. Okay, so in total we have, from the survey, okay, let's say that 17 customer have responded, and then each of the customer, for example, customer number 1 respond staircase 1, black, customer number 2 also black, okay, and so on. And then let's say that if you does not understand well about the data hierarchy, most probably you will be calculating the mean or the average. Why? Because you will be getting this value and you are referring this as the numerical. So when you calculate this value here, okay, the mean value here, so you'll be getting 1.765. And then as a conclusion, you'll be noticing that 1.765 will be equal to 2. And then you will be summary that most 17 customer preferred staircase color white, because white representing 2. So this is actually a misleading analysis. Why? Because firstly, you are treating the numbers here as a true numbers, whereby this number is actually just a coded representing the category of the color. So supposingly, the correct way of analysis is just identify the frequency or the count of customer preferred number 1, which is black, customer preferred number 2, and also the count or the frequency the customer preferred number 3. So the summary from this analysis should be the frequency for each of the category, not the analysis or the calculations of the mean. Okay, the second example here, okay, let's say that there is a study or there is a survey, okay, and then this is about the customers' attitude about the products or the TV commercials. And then we have these 5 level of scales here, ranging from 1 until 5. And then let's say that we have 10 customer who responds, and then this is the value of the responses from these 10 customer. Again, if you treat the number as a true value of as a true numbers, so most probably you'll be calculating it as a mean. Okay, this is also a misleading analysis. Why? Because firstly, these numbers only representing as a coding for each of these category. Secondly, this category is ordered or it is in ranked. Okay. So with this value of when you calculate this mean value here, okay, you will be treating that each of these category will be similar. Okay, whereas it should be differences because this is about the attitude, the customer attitude. And of course, this will be the ordinal type of hierarchy. Okay. So what you need to do, instead of calculating the mean, if you're having this kind of situation, so again, you need to calculate the frequency or the count for each of the category. So basically, the highest number of the category will possess the what we call the customer attitude towards toward the products or the TV commercial. Okay, so we have finished the first part of the fundamental. Okay, so let's test your understanding about this first part of fundamental topics. Please participate with the activity which I have prepared in the e-learning. Thank you for listening and participating. So I will see you again in the second part of fundamental of statistics. Okay, thank you.